800-561-3405. That's 800-561-3405.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Sometimes it's hard to know what's real and what isn't.
Right here.
The country is heading in the wrong direction under this president.
We're suffering shortages. America's running out of everything.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion. Now, the Onder Prescription with Dr. Bob Onder.
In 2014, Missouri passed a major tax cut bill, Senate Bill 509. This law would bring down Missouri's personal income tax rate from 5.6 to 4.8% over the years as long as certain revenue targets are met. Because Missouri has enormous budget surpluses of money taken from you, the taxpayer, by the state or federal government, Governor Mike Parson has called the legislature into special session to cut your taxes immediately to 4.8%. I support Governor Parson on this. Unfortunately, one pro-tax state senator from Springfield today filed a fake income tax bill that would not cut your tax rates now at all. Instead, it would kick in if and only if lots of conditions are met 8 to 10 years from now. There is nothing worse than lying to voters and constituents, pretending to do one thing but really doing the opposite. Time to stop the games. The governor is right and Senator Huff dead wrong on taxes. I'm Dr. Bob, and that's my prescription.
Find more Dr. Bob Onder at bobondermo.com. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
On Friday's program, we're taking a look at how bad St. Louis area small businesses are being hurt by the Biden economy, and we're going to meet News Talk STL's newest host.
Mornings starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
And good afternoon and welcome into the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show here at 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL, 3:34 in the PM Central Daylight Time, September the 15th, 2022. Happy Thursday. Happy Friday Eve. Chris Arps, how you doing?
Happy Friday Eve to you, Tim, to Katie, and Stel Ponticus joins us back in the studio.
Nice to see you guys.
Stel, we missed you.
See you, Stel. Stel, we thought you gave up on us. And just
exactly. I like, did he quit already?
There's no way I can handle this bunch.
Well, I thought about making a change on my way in, but I figured I better be here.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks,
guys. I guess
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy. I'm not sure.
Glad to see you.
Good to have Katie and Stel here as well. We've got a huge show here today. I think that's why the week has gone so fast, because we've had so many things to talk about and so many people to talk about them with every day. Dr. Randy Tolber at 3:42-ish will join us. Keep it right here. He's the host of the Randy Tolber Show on News Talk STL. Ron from the Range, the 7th annual Customer Appreciation Day at the Range will be this Saturday. I'll be out there for a couple hours. Would love to have you swing by and say hello. They've got a jam-packed lineup of stuff for everyone of all ages. I hope I like swag, so I'm going to, if there's swag lying around, I'm taking all of it. So they're going to have to probably handcuff me.
Put it away when Tim Jones arrives.
Dakota Wood joining us today, JJ Carafano. Guess where, did you guys see where JJ is today?
No, I didn't see.
He's in Ukraine.
Oh,
yeah, he did tell us that he had a foreign trip scheduled the following week. I didn't think we talked to him. I thought we'd have someone else, but
well, we do have somebody else for today.
There it is. Oh, there it is.
But last week he did mention that he was going on a trip.
So he wouldn't tell us where he was going, but this morning, due to some unforeseen circumstances, I thought he stiffed me because he's on Thursday mornings with me in Springfield. Unfortunately, our lovely booking lady, Corinne, came down with a little bit of food poisoning, which sucks.
The worst.
And so then I was texting JJ. I was like, Jim, where are you? And he texted me much later in the day. I was like, dude, I'm in Ukraine. and he sent me a video as well. So I'll have to check that out. Dakota Wood, who we love, will be joining us at 4:25. Chris's Corner at 4:42. Speaker Stump Speech at 5:07. And Larry Behrens of Power the Future will join us once again, talking about how bad this winter could be fuel energy price wise. Oh, great. More happy news to look forward to.
Yeah, I talked about that yesterday, that the Northeast, where not predominantly, but a great deal of the homes use home heating oil. I have no idea what that is or how that works, but they're looking at record prices for this fall up and down the New England East Coast. So you add that on to inflation and gas prices and food prices, and doesn't make a situation any better than what we have now.
It does not. Chris, what do you think about the fact that since Joe Biden and Kamala Harris won't go to the border is coming to them?
Oh, I love that. We talked about that this morning on Wake Up America on Newsmax, that the Florida governor has sent migrants to Martha's Vineyard, a ritzy part of Massachusetts. I love that. And then I think Governor Abbott, he sent migrants to the vice president's official residence, which is the Naval Observatory. And so that's a situation that they're going to have to deal with that there. I don't know about you guys. I love the politics of this, especially for our Republican congressional candidate, Andrew Jones. But I suggested that the mayors of Texas or the governors of Texas and Florida should send some migrants to St. Louis.
Agreed.
We're a sanctuary city.
Oh, yeah.
And I would love to sit back and grab some popcorn and a Coke and watch Tashara Jones and this hapless administration deal with an influx of migrants. When we see how they've dealt with the homeless situation, just imagine a bunch of illegal immigrants.
Katie, you booked the press secretary for Ron DeSantis with us several months ago. I think you should reach out to her and say, St. Louis City is open for illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
Send a boatload up here.
I'll go ahead and email her.
She should know that, because, Chris, that's a beautiful idea. I love how Abbott and DeSantis are trying to one up with each other on where to send illegal immigrants. And look, I know this sounds like a political game, but you know what? They deserve it. The Democrats deserve this because, as Chris pointed out, they all declared themselves sanctuary cities years ago. And they said, shame on you, Republicans. You're such heartless, evil people. Well, here you go. Here's the people that you said you wanted to welcome with open arms. And now, Chris, I find this hilarious, not in a ha-ha funny way, but in a height of irony way. Martha's Vineyard, to the earlier point you made, their Chamber of Commerce, can you imagine the Martha's Vineyard Chamber of Commerce? Just a bunch of old, wealthy white people sitting around clutching their pearls. They have declared a humanitarian crisis over the arrival of 50 immigrants.
Oh, my God. It's a
50
humanitarian crisis. And what I love is this is also opened up the scab and showed the hypocrisy of the liberals, how they say they want these illegals. When Lori Lightfoot received her share of the illegals, what did she do? She shipped them off to the suburbs in Chicago instead of dealing with the problem. I love this. And, if I was a New Yorker, I would be really upset if I heard Mayor Eric Adams talk about how we're going to take care of these people and it's our humanity, it's our duty, civic duty, humanity to take care of them, and we're going to do that and all that, while there are New Yorkers and suffering, trying to figure out how they're going to put gas in their car, figuring out how they're going to pay for food, clothe their children, and you're open the doors wide open for not legal immigrants, illegal immigrants.
Not to mention the homeless problem they have in New York City and Chicago and St. Louis. These mayors can't even take care of their own people, much less declaring themselves sanctuary cities for illegal immigrants. But you know what? This is, as Vic Porcelli might say, the famous poker player here at News Talk STL, this is calling their bluff, right? I mean, in epic fashion.
Yeah. And you still have the administration, still playing the game of who you're going to believe, us or your lying eyes, saying that the border is secure. I mean, we had just the other day the story of these immigrants climbing over the border in camouflage uniforms so that they couldn't hide. Katie, can we play cut 4? And here's Corinne Jean-Pierre telling us that we're all a bunch of fools.
Administration, which largely just tried to build a wall, an ineffective wall along the border, and couldn't even finish that in 4 years. We're certainly doing a lot more to secure the border and could be doing even more if Republicans would stop their obstruction. That's it. I'm going to just take one last.
Unbelievable. Republicans' obstruction is causing the border patrol to look the other way when these migrants come across the border, not because because it's something they want to do. That's what they're being told from the higher ups.
Next thing we're going to hear Corinne Jean-Pierre saying, we would just build the wall if the Republicans would let us. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
I saw a story, and we can talk about it later, where the Biden administration is building parts of no, they want to send them back to Mexico under COVID protocols, the same thing that they fought against. Yes. I'll find it, but I saw it yesterday. Yeah,
they litigated against that in court. Yeah. Dr. Randy Tolber will dive into the deep end with us on all of these issues and more when we speak with him next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. 101.9, 94.1 News Talk.
This is News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion from the voices you know and trust. News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
The very basic science is that previous infection provides a level of immunity. If you ignore that in your studies, if you don't present that in your committees, you're not being truthful or honest with us.
Well, there you go. There's round, I don't know, I've lost track, 7 with Dr. Paul versus Dr. Fauci. Maybe we should see what our personal doctor thinks about that and more.
Gentlemen, we're about to enter the fascinating sphere of police work, the world of forensic medicine.
Truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
You're really criticizing science because I represent science.
I'm a man who discovered the wheel.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer.
Doctor, give me the news. I got a bad case of loving you.
As he does on Thursday afternoons, Dr. Randy Tobler at Randy Tobler MD on Twitter joins us, host of the Randy Tobler Show, here, of course, on News Talk STL on Saturday mornings, weekdays, 4 to 6 p.m. If you're in mid-Missouri, tune him in on 93.9 The Eagle. Doc, doesn't Fauci do himself more harm than good by not being able to admit some basic truths that we've learned about COVID-19 at this point, just because it appears he just can't stand Rand Paul?
Well, I think it's that. Plus, it's probably a little bit of if all you have is a vaccine, everything looks like an arm syndrome. I'm sorry. There's no doubt that vaccines are helpful. I have no doubt about that. They turned out not to be the absolute shield that we hoped, but they did help prevent severe infection and hospitalization. That said, the magnitude and frankly the prevalence of immunity through prior infection, much of which was not even we were not aware of because a lot of people just simply didn't test, especially as the virus got milder and milder and more contagious. I think that at this point it's I can't believe that he's still sort of dug in like he is. But I guess at this point he figures that that's his crowning glory, and that's what he's going to go out with.
Dr. Tobler, Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina has really thrown a hand grenade into the Republican Senate's plans on trying to retake the Senate, especially Mitch McConnell. He came out with his own proposal for a nationwide ban on abortion. And two of the things that he's predicating this on is, one, the Commerce Clause, because abortion happens between states. And, that's been expanded dramatically by activist courts to stretch the Constitution to say things that it doesn't say. And it's undercutting the argument that a lot of Republicans have is that this is a states issue and it should go back to the states instead of a national law. What's your opinion, sir?
I actually think that Graham's being pretty clever here, and I think a lot of it will be the way the statute would be worded. I'm sure it's not going to pass because, of course, the Democrats want the most radical abortion leniency, which means all the way up to the minute of birth, and in some cases, beyond birth, infanticide. That said, look, I think that sometimes we need to have the Reagan approach, even though in this case, as significant and as important as life is, I can understand the rationale with saying, hey, let's do some incremental change. Let's have at least no later than 15 weeks. And I would hope that the legislation would say no greater than, but it's not going to restrict states to do less than. In other words, to be more restrictive than that. Now, Tim, being the resident attorney and legislator there, will say, Randy, you should know better than that. That isn't going to go. But I would think, man, wouldn't that be a nice way to go? We're going to put the brakes on the most radical movements, especially in states like New York and California. And at the same time, if it would allow for, more restrictive state by state, I'd be all for that.
Yeah, Doc, let me follow up on that because, I could definitely argue with myself on this by myself, although that would be boring, till the cows come home on each side of this issue. So I'm glad you're here to bounce this off of, because on one hand, I could see many people, and I think many people have said, Lindsey Graham, what are you doing to us, brother? We're 55 days out. We've got the Democrats on the ropes. Inflation numbers just came out that are horrible. The market just tanked. And you just brought up the abortion issue again. On the other hand, I've been saying for quite a while that Republicans need to have something to say about this issue, because in 2018, they had nothing to say about the attack on them about the fact that they were going to take away everybody's health care. Remember, that was the attack back then,
yes,
that they were going to take away Obamacare. And even though a lot of people didn't like Obamacare, a lot of people did like Obamacare. And the message wasn't on Obamacare. It was, they're going to take away all your health care, no matter where you were.
Yeah.
So Lindsey Graham is kind of throwing down the gauntlet going, okay, how about we at least, kind of to your point, Doc, how about we at least have a discussion now about, when do you left-wing lunatics think life begins? Ever? At 9 months when the baby's born? So I could kind of see both issues of this, kind of, like you said, calling the left on the question.
Right. Well, look, you're absolutely right. And look, I think that this could be couched, and it's going to take Sarah Huckabee Sanders level, Kayleigh McEnany, Tony Snow, bless his soul, kind of communication skill. Certainly not Karine Jean-Pierre, but it's going to take some communication skill to sort of craft this as a Second Amendment argument. But like, you choicers, you want choice? The Supreme Court actually gave you choice state by state. But like, you want to put some limits on Second Amendment, and even the NRA and pro-gun people have said, yeah, there's certain limits. You shouldn't probably have an AK-47 or a 50-millimeter howitzer in your basement. Okay. We're just saying reasonable people, humane people will put a limit on this. So have your choice, but limit it, just like you want us to have our guns, but limit them. You see, I would think that there would be a way that this could happen and actually play very positively, but it's all in the communications if you're going to talk about it.
Many are suggesting that the Republicans' response should be, this is a states' rights issue, and then turn it around on the Democrats and ask, what restrictions do you want on abortion up to birth, 8, 7, 8 months? But that's not my question. My question is, Dr. Tobler, there's Rand Paul is really, really on Dr. Fauci about these royalties that he and other scientists potentially gain from the COVID-19 virus vaccine. He's saying that the government rules say that he doesn't have to devolve if he received any money or not. That is the law. But you're a doctor, you're in research and science and all that. How does that work with doctors and researchers getting paid royalties from medications and vaccines?
Well, I think it all depends on their contract. Boy, I sound like a lawyer, don't I, Tim? It depends on the contract. And certainly it depends on if he's got a carve-out relationship that say that he has pre-existing consulting relationships, who knows what kind of a contract he has. But it really speaks to a point that I think it illustrates some great work that has been done in the past and is ongoing, where NIH-funded universities, Wash U here in St. Louis is one, St. Louis U, others, NIH researchers can often develop groundbreaking bench research, early research that then, and sometimes it's carried forward to more advanced stages, that then can be licensed to private manufacturers to then run with the ball and market these things and mass produce them and do all of the clinical testing and everything that's needed. And it may be some relationship like that, where he's got some kind of a relationship that he has some kind of a patenting relationship or consulting relationship that is allowed to survive whatever kind of government restrictions might otherwise exist. But I don't have a problem with people if they have true intellectual property I don't have a problem with them being recognized for that monetarily. I really don't. If, on the other hand, they're a pure bench, researcher, I'm a government scientist and that's all I do, he shouldn't be able to do a carve out. So I don't know what his contract says. I don't know what the law says.
Doc, how about the play of the day? Governor Abbott and Ron DeSantis seem to be, you can almost see them giggling behind closed doors about where they're going to send busloads of illegal immigrants next. Now, on one hand, the left is freaking out saying this is inhumane, but Doc, aren't we calling the left out finally for their own failed policies and they don't know what to do with it?
Yeah, I mean, this is the most beautiful, stabbingly, deathly bit of political gamesmanship I've ever seen. I mean, talk about jujitsu to the max. I mean, this is just great. It's like, hey, you guys are sanctuary cities. You want these people. You've bragged about how you want to show these people the great American hospitality, and your cities are wide open for business. Have at it. And then they drop off a bunch load at the doorstep of Kamala Harris. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. This should be made into a movie. It's just brilliant.
Dr. Tobler, we have a couple of days to the big show. Who are you going to have on Saturday?
Well, we're going to have Kurt Jefferson, formerly of Westminster College here in Fulton, and a really European historian, political science expert. He's out with a new book on geoglobal strategy, but he is a super big expert on what's going on in Ukraine. Also, when I'm talking with him about some China-Rusky things. So we're going to have a lot of fun with him and some other great guests.
Thank you very much, Dr. Randy Tobler at Randy Tobler, MD, this Saturday and every afternoon from 4 to 6 p.m. on 93.9 The Eagle. Thanks, Doc.
You're welcome. See you.
All right, very good. That's Dr. Randy Tobler. All right, Chris, as we mentioned earlier, got a big show. That was Randy Tobler kicking it off. When we come back, we'll speak with Ron from The Range. Got Customer Appreciation Days, and we can talk to Ron about small business concerns, what's going on in the firearms industry, et cetera, and so forth. Dakota Wood on all things near and far, this border security crisis and more. And Chris's Corner today is going to be about?
I'll tell you soon.
Okay, very good. To be determined, hanging on the edges of our seat. We've got lots more to get to today. Go nowhere. Keep it right here for Thursday's show of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1. This is News Talk ST.
Cardinals Legends. The Legends Bobblehead Series begins on Sunday, September 18th. That day, 25,000 fans ages 16 and older will take home an Albert Pujols bobblehead. Salute Albert's return to St. Louis with this unique bobble that connects with separate Yachty and Waino bobbles given out during the final regular season weekend. For tickets, visit cardinals.com/promotions.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. President Biden is cheering both labor and management for averting a nationwide rail strike. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
A relieved President Biden stepped into the Rose Garden to welcome a tentative railway labor agreement.
Together, we reached an agreement. You reached an agreement that will keep our critical rail system working and avoid disruptions of our economy.
The deal still needs to win the backing of union members, but the president celebrated the result of intense negotiations. He praised both unions and rail companies, but emphasized that workers will receive 24% raises and improved health benefits. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Vladimir Putin has acknowledged China's concern over Ukraine in his first face-to-face talks with President Xi Jinping since the Russian invasion.
At the start of his talks with Xi Jinping, the Kremlin leader said the kind of things you might expect him to say. He praised the strategic partnership between Russia and China. And then he turned to Ukraine. Mr. Putin said that Russia understood that China has questions and concerns about the situation there. In that one short sentence, the Kremlin had revealed that China is uneasy about what's happening in Ukraine.
BBC correspondent Steve Rosenberg reporting. Thousands of mourners are waiting up to 9 hours in line to file past the coffin of Queen Elizabeth II as she lies in state at Westminster Hall. The queue to pay respects to the late monarch stretched for 4.4 miles past Tower Bridge on Thursday. But those in it said the 9-hour wait was worth it, and authorities provided amenities like portable toilets to ease their wait. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 173 points, the Nasdaq dropped 167, the S&P 500 lower by 44. More on these stories at townhall.com.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-940-6161. That's 1-800-940-6161. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-940-6161. SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Support is sponsored by Lowe's. Don't miss the energy savings events at Lowe's. Save energy and save money on select major appliances, including Whirlpool. Selection varies by location. Exclusions apply. Visit Lowe's.com for details. Valid through 9/28. A crash eastbound 270 at 170. Looks like everything's moved to the right shoulder. Earlier road work east and westbound 70 at Zumbel. Heavy volume eastbound 70 crossing the Museo Veterans Bridge into Illinois. The right lane's closed between the bridge and Illinois Route 3. An accident Jennings Station at Hall's Ferry. The crash westbound 64 at the Tam overpass is moved to the right shoulder. Volume westbound 64 between 364 and I-70. Slow pocket eastbound 64 at Illinois 159. There's an accident taking out the right lane, and construction east and westbound 64 at Illinois 161. I'm Tori Lyons from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. It's getting a little hotter each day we go, and it definitely will be hotter for the weekend. Tonight, a low down to 63. Not as cool as earlier in the week, but still a mild start. 88 for the afternoon high, not too humid, partly to mostly sunny. Really a nice day. Saturday, a high of 90, partly cloudy and dry. Sunday, partly to mostly sunny with a high of 92 as the temperatures keep climbing. More 90s on into early next week. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by All Solutions Pest Control, 636-486-7888, or visit them at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Hey folks, Tim Jones here for the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway. For Rodney and Jen Wallner, who you can reach today if you're even thinking about selling your homestead at 314-810-SOLD. The Wallners would tell you, and they've told me many times, and they continue to tell me up until today, that home prices are still, yes, at historic highs. So what that means for you homeowners, it's still a great time for you to sell your home. And the Wallners will find you a buyer. They have so many approved home buyers, they'll guarantee to obtain you an offer. So what are you waiting for? Give them a call today at 314-810-SOLD. They'll offer you a flexible commission plan when you sign up with them, tailored to your specific needs. There's no obligation or long-term commitment with that deal. If you're not happy, you may simply walk away. I know you'll be happy to the very end of the arrangement, which will be a happy one because the Wallners have told me there's so many happy campers they've worked with. So many decades all across the entire St. Louis region. You can get that level of service as well when you call them at 314-810-SOLD. They're a husband and wife team, Rodney and Jen are. That provides you a unique family perspective. 2 agents for the price of one. How great is that? Not just the perspective of one agent. When you call Rodney and Jen at 314-810-SOLD. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team today for a free listing consultation. Sell your home with this top producing real estate team. Rodney and Jen Wallner, 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. That's 800-281-4224.
What happens next?
Oh, I think we're in a recession.
Happens right here.
I really still think there's a huge wave of discontent, and people are going to want to throw the bums out who caused all this inflation.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
All did together to expand health care, to fight climate change, to advance social justice, and to promote economic fairness. Thanks to your decency and thanks to your strength. Maybe most of all, thanks to your faith in our democracy and the American people. The country's better off than when you took office, and we should all be deeply grateful for that. So thank you so much.
Was that Barack Obama doing a comedy sketch there, Chris Arps? Do you think a little tongue-in-cheekness on his part? I don't know.
Well, I tell you, it's always nice to hear from the President of the United States and give his view on things. Because Barack Obama is the President of the United States, and Susan Rice and all of the countless Obama appointees who are in the Biden administration are who are really running this administration. So that we just heard from the President. Really,
a lot of Obamatons definitely pulling strings behind the scenes.
It's like 3/4. Seriously, I think I saw somewhere like 3/4 of the staff, Biden staff, or Obama appointees.
And Obama's probably going, yeah, I really don't care because my approval rating's a lot better than his still. So there you have it. Let's bring in our next guest. There's one thing that Joe Biden may have done good for some Americans, and that was to convince them that they needed to exercise their Second Amendment rights a little more and better. We're going to bring in Ron from The Range, therangestl.com, to talk about on a great event they've got this Saturday, and we'll likely get into some other issues involving the Second Amendment and personal protection and small business issues as well. Ron, good afternoon. Welcome back to News Talk STL.
How's everybody today?
Fantastic.
They're doing just fine. So, Ron, first of all, Ron, we want to thank The Range for everything you've done for us for the last 14 months. You were one of our earliest advertisers to jump on board and have trust in us. So we thank you for your support. Now we want to help support you all. You guys are celebrating your 7th annual Customer Appreciation Day at that new location, which I guess not so new anymore, but it always looks brand new to me when I walk in. This Saturday, September 17th. Ron, tell us what folks can expect when they visit The Range anytime on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
To have a lot of fun, save a lot of money, learn a lot of stuff. How's that?
That sounds good. That sounds good. Give us some details.
Oh goodness, I don't even know if my brain's big enough to comprehend all the details. So we've got we're going to have free lanes available. You know, we exist because our customers in St. Louis are so fantastic. We have been so well received, and I think that our staff does a great job with what we do. But the people of St. Louis. You know, I raised a family here, and we absolutely love this community. It's so great to be in a business where we feel like we're giving back, that we're contributing to the strength of our communities. And we wanted to say thank you to all of our great customers who have supported us over the last 7 years. We're going to have free lanes all day. Just show up, bring your pews or rent something from us. We're going to have reps on hand from Springfield and Leupold and Hornady and Springfield and SIG and Crossbreed. We're going to have breakfast. We're going to have lunch. Kolaches is being kind enough to make a donation. I think we're even going to have a superstar, super recognized pillar in the community. I think Tim Jones, I think you're planning on being here.
I thought Katie was going to be there. That's not me. Yeah, I thought Katie was stepping in.
Yeah, we would prefer Katie.
I know you would.
For you, Tim.
I know you would. Well, appreciate that.
We're really looking forward to that. We've got the dunk tank. We're going to warm the water up for you. You'll be good to go in the dunk tank.
I don't know about that.
Maybe not. Okay. But we're going to have. We're even going to offer some free classes. We've got tactical care concepts. I apologize. Is going to be here. They're going to do a tourniquet class. SIG is going to do a class on how to build a 320 or a 365 pistol. We're going to have a shoot off in our simulator, and the fastest time is going to get some toys. We're going to have a competition on who can assemble a bolt carrier group for an AR the fastest. They're going to get a free armorers class. We're going to have a bunch of guns from Springfield and SIG and Shadow Systems to demo and try out. We're going to feed the kids sugar and send them home with you. That's what we do. But it's just going to be a great day. Lots and lots of savings. As you know, it's our 7th anniversary, so you're going to save between 7 and 21% off everything that we've got in the store. Basically, memberships are on sale, training's on sale. We've got an unbelievable selection of firearms, handguns, and long guns, optics, ammunition. I got to stop. I'm getting really excited. It's Saturday already.
Ron, there's a brewing gun privacy controversy that's going on right now. We talked about it a little bit the other day, but apparently this ISO, independent international standards organization, that people don't know, every time you buy a product, there's a UPC code, and that code designates whatever product that you're buying into a particular category. For years, gun and ammo sales were designated as general merchandise, but there is a chance that now gun and ammo sales will have their own classification. How worried are you about that, about privacy and the potential gun registration?
Well, I miss Ronald Reagan. Let me start there. Who's our next Ronald Reagan going to be? Because then we wouldn't have these kind of issues. Because if I'm buying a firearm, I'm not breaking any laws, but I'm potentially being treated as a criminal because I bought ammunition or a firearm or took some training, which is 100% guaranteed by our Constitution. But somehow these retailers think that they're going to. I can't project what they're going to do with the data. Marketing is marketing, right?
And Ron, here's what they're saying. They're saying that the reason they want to do this is this will allow the government and authorities to track if someone is buying a bunch of guns or a bunch of ammo. That gives them a window into that. That's their rationale for changing this law or changing this rule.
And in my mind, that's 100% illegal because I'm not doing anything wrong, number one. Number two, in order to purchase a firearm through a facility like mine that uses credit cards as a form of payment, you have to pass a background check. The government has to say, yeah, they're a good person. They can actually own a gun. There's nothing wrong with owning more than one firearm. There's nothing wrong with owning more than one house or one car or one golf club. But somehow, because the winds of Washington are blowing in the direction of painting firearm owners as villains or criminals, has caught ground in these with these banks, and I think that it's wrong. I think that it's time for some changes to take place there. I could say a lot of things that are probably going to get me in trouble here, but the bottom line is, if you're doing business with somebody who's treating you unfairly, why are you doing business with them?
Yeah, not with our listeners, Ron. I think they're all nodding their heads right now. So speaking to Ron from The Range, therangestl.com, got Customer Appreciation Day this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. I'll be out there from around noonish or so to about 2 p.m. Would love to see y'all. Shake your hand, say hello. I can't wait for all the cool swag. Ron, how about small business concerns? I stopped by The Range a couple weeks ago, and it was a random, I don't know, Tuesday or Wednesday morning around 10 a.m. or so, and the place was bustling. Things were busy. There was people there shopping. There was people there signing up for classes. Seemed like everything was good, but that's just me in an anecdotal day. I'm sure that inflation and supply chain crises and all the other problems affecting businesses across America are things The Range is having to deal with. Ron, how is business in general in the firearms industry? How y'all doing at The Range?
We're doing really well. Like I said, we've got the greatest customers in the world, and we've been doing things right. I believe we've been doing things right for the last 7 years. You know, whether you're an experienced shooter or you have no idea what a firearm is and they actually scare you, we can help. We can help with all of those things. We don't just sell guns. We talk about how to safely use that firearm and have fun with that firearm, because shooting sports are fun. They are a sport. But we do have our challenges with the supply lines and the supply chains. Right now, there are just a few select calibers of ammunition that are tougher to get, but we have a fantastic inventory right now. We're seeing a lot more firearms available for purchase in the industry. That has they've kind of caught up on that end of things. And overall, things are really good for us. I think due in large part because we have such great people in St. Louis and great customers, but also because people more and more every day, you know, you can't, I almost said pick up a newspaper but nobody picks up a newspaper anymore. You can't turn your phone on and go to Instagram or one of your news outlets without seeing something that scares you to some extent. You know, you can't, I was talking to my wife the other night. It was really nice outside. Our bedroom's on the second floor of the house. I was nervous to leave my second floor bedroom window open. You know, that's sad that we're in that state. But we can help with all of those things, and that's what we do. And making sure that customer has a great experience, that they're comfortable and that they're safe, is what we are all about and what we'll always be about.
Ron, I think I read somewhere recently that African Americans, and I'm African American, of course, have been.
I never noticed that.
Did you? Good. That African Americans have been purchasing firearms in record numbers lately. Are you seeing that in your store with African Americans and other minorities?
We're seeing there. You can stand in our showroom any day of the week, and you see a tremendous representation of what America is. A great cross-reference of who we are, regardless of nationality, ethnicity, religion. People are starting to get it. They're starting to understand. And I would say that we are seeing, regardless of what you identify as, even people love to recognize the fact and exercise their Second Amendment rights and know that they can do what they need to do to take care of themselves and their families. And it's been a really, really great thing. I'll be honest with you, Chris, it's been a great thing to see such a wonderful cross representation of America in our store.
Excellent.
And Ron, the other thing I've noticed about The Range, and I've spoken with perhaps you and Chris and some of the other folks there, is that you have such a wide array. Your store is not just a tiny little gun store. Your showroom floor, your accessories, you have like aisles and aisles of accessories, and you even have stuff of the non-lethal variety, of the non-gun variety, right? If people are not interested in that. And you also teach situational awareness classes. So it's an awesome store for incredible firearms and ammo, but I want to get out to people that it's so much more than that, isn't it?
100%. You know, I don't remember the statistics exactly, but I believe it was somewhere in the 70% category, that if people would just stay out of their phones and be aware of what's going on around them, that they could avoid about 70% of the crimes that they're victims of, just by using verbal commands, which we are big fans of. Verbal commands, of body language, of understanding what's going on around you. And that doesn't mean that you're afraid all the time. We call situational awareness, we kind of categorize into green, yellow, and red. Green is I have no idea what's going on around me. I'm too busy doing other things to pay attention. Yellow is I'm aware of what's going on around me, but it's not interfering with the things that I do. It's just helping me make better decisions. And red means, hey, I have to take action. There's something going on that requires me to move, to do something in order to protect myself or the people that are around me. And not everyone is going to find a firearm fits for them comfortably in that arsenal of taking care of themselves. That doesn't mean that there aren't other options for you. It doesn't mean that just learning how to pay attention to fatal funnels and areas of opportunity like doorways and car doors are going, and being able to take certain steps that are going to keep you safe in those situations aren't going to apply to you. They're going to pay big dividends for you. In fact, a couple times a year, we actually teach what we call our college awareness course for those kids that are getting outside of that mom and dad bubble where they've taken care of them for their whole lives, and showing them how to just be aware of what's going on around them and make good decisions so that they don't find themselves in a situation where they could be a victim.
Ron, we got 30 seconds. Get them in the door for the 7th annual Customer Appreciation Day.
Well, if you're not here to see Tim, then I don't know how to fix that.
That should do it,
come
though.
See us. You're going to have a great time. You're going to learn a lot. We're here to service you, to take care of you, to answer your questions. And Saturday, you're just going to have a ton of fun doing it.
Thank you, Ron from The Range, therangestl.com. 7th Annual Customer Appreciation Day is this Saturday, September 17th, therangestl.com. Ron, it's always a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much. And thank you again for your support of News Talk STL.
Thanks, Ron.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks, guys. And Katie, keep up the good work. Did you get that raise yet? Ask Katie if she got a raise.
I'm working towards it, Ron. You already know. Thank you, sir.
All right. Take care, guys.
Thank you, Ron. Really appreciate it. Yeah, folks, if you haven't been to The Range, it is one of the coolest stores, period, I've ever been in. It really is. It's got a lot of neat stuff to look at. It's 2 floors. And you know what? These events, they always have lots of cool swag that they're giving out.
You know what, Tim? I thought my check looked a little light last week.
Why was that?
Now I know Katie got
shifted. It's been shifted.
It's been shifted.
Why does
now I know what happened.
Why does everyone we have on always advocate for her? Can't figure it out. I know we're a handful and all, but come on. All right. Let's see who we got. We're going to shift gears a touch when we come back. We're going to talk to Dakota Wood, veteran and senior research fellow for defense programs at the Heritage Foundation. Excited to talk to Dakota as always when Chris and I return here at 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
I've been walking behind you, you've been able to see.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Follow Chris Arps on Twitter at Chris_Arps. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. It's getting a little hotter each day we go, and it definitely will be hotter for the weekend. Tonight, a low down to 63. Not as cool as earlier in the week, but still a mild start. 88 for the afternoon high, not too humid, partly to mostly sunny. Really a nice day. Saturday, a high of 90, partly cloudy and dry. Sunday, partly to mostly sunny with a high of 92 as the temperatures keep climbing. More 90s on into early next week. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Don't miss the energy savings event at Lowe's. Save energy and save money on select major appliances, including Whirlpool. Selection varies by location. Exclusions apply. Visit Lowe's.com for details. Valid through 9/28. Eastbound 70 at St. Charles Rock Road. They just reopened all lanes. They cleared that debris that fell from a truck earlier. Traffic backs up east of the Blanchette Bridge. Westbound 70 lining up for a look at 170. Accident cleared from the right lane southbound 270 before Doherty Ferry. A pretty solid backup all the way to Page. You have 2 accidents northbound 270 south of Gravois. One on the right shoulder, one blocking the left lane. Westbound 44 lines up Laclede Station to a crash at Big Bend. And they cleared the accident eastbound 64 at Illinois 159. I'm Tori Lyons from the News Talk STL. Traffic Center.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
A warehouse caught fire, and all the news TV channels were out there with their cameras, and they were getting some of those shots into the building, and it was such an intense fire. Again, it was kind of like in the movies when you're looking into a portal into hell.
That's what I would want to be, one of those people who controlled the drones for the TV station.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be doing like dive bombing and stuff. I'd probably melt a few of those things.
Oh, well, you destroy them.
Yeah, but it would be good video.
It'd be a great shot.
Weekday mornings, 5:30 to 9 on News Talk STL.
Blue Oyster Cult, live in concert. One of the most iconic bands in classic rock. Blue Oyster Cult, with special guests Mark Farner's American Band and Head East. This Friday, 7 p.m., the Family Arena. Tickets on sale now at the Carroll House box office, at the Family Arena, or at Ticketmaster.
Get ready, because here they come.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's Beatlemania all over again with the Fab Four, the ultimate tribute to the Beatles. Entertainment Tonight says seeing the Fab Four is just like seeing the Beatles. Hey Jude. The Fab Four takes you through the 60s with the music that changed our lives. It's a show you won't want to miss.
Saturday, October 1st at the Family Arena. Tickets on sale now at the Carroll House box office, located at the Family Arena or at Ticketmaster.
Fox News commentary.
The man who beheaded his ex-girlfriend in broad daylight is, wait for it, an illegal immigrant. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Attention investors, the RV industry has exploded in the last several years. RV sales are up double digits and RV park bookings are up over 650%. Now you can own part of an RV Resort USA property with projected 15 to 20% ROI paid quarterly plus ownership in the land. A real estate investor's dream. To learn more, visit RVResortUSA.com. That's RVResortUSA.com. Or call 833-452-2267, 833-452-2267. Individual results may vary. Past performance is no guarantee of future results.
Rafael Solano Lendera was arrested and charged late last week with beheading his ex-girlfriend outside her apartment building in San Carlos, California. She leaves behind 2 young daughters. And if that wasn't heinous enough, we now know, thanks to immigration sources, that Jose is an illegal immigrant. He entered the country from Venezuela on a tourist visa 10 years ago and never left. How could this be? Well, don't forget, California is a sanctuary state that prevents local law enforcement from working with ICE to get these criminal aliens off the street. But it gets worse. According to the San Francisco Chronicle, not only did he allegedly behead his ex, not only is he an illegal, he's also a criminal alien with a rap sheet that includes rape, a charge he served only 3 months probation for. He remains in jail for his latest beheading offense, but given it's California, who knows how long that'll last. Rest easy, Californians. Your leaders are concerned with protecting and shielding illegals. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can listen to all of my hot takes at foxnewscommentary.com.
No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here. Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to News Talk STL.
Here's a reassuring story. China is busy testing hypersonic missiles that can strike anywhere on the planet without being detected. But the U.S. military is on it. They are rising to the challenge, the strongest military in the world. Here's a training video from Joe Biden's Pentagon. This was released by the U.S. Navy, obtained by the Washington Free Beacon.
Hi, my name is Johnny, and I use he, him pronouns.
Hi, and I'm Conchi, and I use she, her pronouns.
And we're here to talk about pronouns.
What is a pronoun? A pronoun is how we identify ourselves apart from our name, and it's also how people refer to us in conversations.
Using the right pronouns is a really simple way to affirm someone's identity. It is a signal of acceptance and respect. A really good way to do that is to use inclusive language. Instead of saying something like, hey guys, you can say, hey everyone, or hey team.
So that's the U.S. Navy under Joe Biden. Why not just make it really clear? Get right to the point. We surrender. We are totally incapable of fighting an adult war against an adult country like China, or for that matter, the Taliban. We give up. We're going to talk about pronouns.
Well, there you have it, Chris. That's what our U.S. military is doing to face the challenges of today and tomorrow in a ever increasing dangerous world.
Maybe we can play that again later. And I, in no means, am trying to stereotype in any way, but I think the male in that video had a slight lisp. If I listened really close.
I don't think that was accidental. I think it's further proof of the emasculation of America.
Did you hear a lisp?
Oh, I heard quite a bit.
I thought it was just me. All right,
I have a feeling, knowing our next guest, he may be grinding his teeth as well at all of that. Let's bring in Dakota Wood, veteran U.S. Marine Corps Senior Research Fellow for Defense Programs. I mean, good Lord, Dakota, did they teach that at the Naval Academy in West Point when you were going through our nation's military? I mean, Dakota, it's bad enough this stuff's happening in our schools, but our military?
Well, where I take comfort is before the next war, there'll be this great conference from all the combatants, and we'll settle on preferred pronouns, right? So when you intercept the enemy's communications, you know who the heck is saying what. I'm very confident that that'll happen.
Oh, God help us, Dakota.
Dakota, we play a clip here, and I think Senator Ted Cruz has the best response to the pronoun controversy. He says, my pronouns are kiss my ass. And I think I concur with that. Dakota, let's talk a little bit about the stunning successes that Ukraine has had lately. It looks like the war is turning around for them. We see troops that are heading back to Russia. And it's really, really bad when Russia is buying arms and drones from North Korea and Iran.
Yeah, so I want to be hesitant before we start declaring victory. You remember that mission accomplished banner there with George W. Bush on the aircraft carrier?
Yes, sir.
We don't want to repeat that. So it is stunning success for a variety of reasons. The Ukrainians are fighting for their homeland. The Russians don't know why they're there, the guys on the ground, right? Russian leadership is historically just horrible. They've been lying to themselves on proficiency and effectiveness in their annual exercises and those sorts of things. The Ukrainians have got massive influx of modern weapons, new technologies. They've got intel support from the United States, space-based systems and all that stuff, right? So all of this stuff that we've been giving them for 6 months now, they've been able to put to really, really good effect. And we see then the difference between a Western way of war, right, and a communist authoritarian regime sort of approach that Russia had. But they've got a lot of stock, and you've got Putin that is not going to willingly give up what he has seized in Ukraine, giving up Crimea and those sorts of things. So I really believe we've got some weeks, if not months, of some fairly brutal combat on the horizon.
Dakota, could you explain to our listeners what is the latest regarding the conflict around the Ukrainian nuclear power plant? I think it's pronounced Zaporizhia. I took Russian, Dakota, a million years ago, and we were never taught the Ukrainian dialect. So it's something like that. But could you explain what's going on with that nuclear plant and how concerned should folks in and around that region, well, heck, how should folks on the globe be concerned about the fact that a nuclear power plant is right in the middle of this conflict right now?
Right. One of the largest plants of that type in Europe. It's got 6 reactors. All 6 have been taken offline. They had maintained one to provide internal power for cooling pumps and those sorts of things because it had been cut off from the local power grid. That has been restored. They've got external power and some emergency generators keeping things cool. What we don't have to be worried about is a mushroom cloud. This is a fairly modern design reactor. It's not Chernobyl, right? If you remember, years back, or 3 Mile Island or something like that. So the emergency procedures would just have everything shut down. The radioactive rods go back into their containment vessel and those sorts of things. But what we would want to be concerned about is with the fighting in that area, shell holes through the roofs and the walls. The containment vessel themselves for the reactor are built to withstand earthquakes and those sorts of things. But man, if you start pummeling it with, routine artillery fire and that sort of stuff, you could have radioactive leakage. So that's what we're concerned about, is any kind of radioactivity leaking out of that facility and then carried by, the winds into the surrounding area. So, the Russians and Ukrainians are going back and forth in this area. It's in the southern part of the country that, again, the weather patterns could have some of this stuff going actually westward into the rest of Europe. So everybody is concerned about it. The Russians are behaving horribly in that they have weapons and vehicles and command posts inside of the nuclear plants, inside the larger buildings there. So they're aware. They've maintained some power. There's no danger of a mushroom cloud, but always some concern about radioactive leakage.
Dakota, as you know, Germany gets, I think, over half of their natural gas from Russia. But we're hearing reports today that they have pledged to send more military aid to Ukraine. What is the geopolitical reaction of that? What's going to happen what does that mean?
Most folks are very disappointed in Germany in that they keep making these pledges of support, but actually very little has come out of Germany into the hands of the Ukrainians. So even the Ukrainian president, Zelensky, has said, hey, Germany, what is the deal? You keep promising, you're not delivering. Whereas Poland, the Baltic states, Great Britain, even France, and obviously the United States has been sending all sorts of military equipment. I mean, the U.S. has given 800,000 artillery shells to the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians are asking for more, some of our high-end missile systems and the whole bit. But Germany has been kind of absent from this. And what they have said is that the limited amount that they have already given in support for munitions has left them with hardly anything left in their own inventory, and they're very reluctant to give anything more. So, Germany is not playing well here. Its reputation is taking some hits. And even though it pledges to rearm itself, it has been very slow making progress on that. And it's just not a good situation in Germany with the security situation.
Mm-hmm. Dakota, it's great that the Ukrainians have been able to push the Russians back, and Joe Biden, of course, wants to focus heavily on that because it's the one thing that his administration, he's even tangentially joined in, that there's some success going on in the world, despite the only thing. And I don't know how much Biden has to do with that. I think any American president would be largely doing what he's doing, but he's ignoring the own sanctity of our own borders here in the United States. I mean, Dakota, this border crisis, which Governors Abbott and DeSantis are highlighting in epic technicolor this week, it also has to deal directly with our strength and our national security, doesn't it? And we're kind of becoming, I would imagine, a laughingstock around the world, where most other countries enforce their borders a lot more strongly than we do.
Yeah, I think the latest figures I saw was 45,000 illegal immigrants a week are coming across the border into Texas. 45,000. And so when some of these are put on buses and airplanes, and they show up in Chicago or Washington, D.C., or I love that one from DeSantis, Martha's Vineyard, right? By just maybe several 20s or a couple of hundred, and the folks in these sanctuary cities, self-declared, are just beside themselves. Immoral, unethical, illegal. How could Texas and Florida do that to them when it's the same sort of liberal, progressive nonsense that has left our borders as porous as you've already described? I mean, the amount of fentanyl that has come across our southern borders has been enough to kill every man, woman, and child in the United States 10 times over, right? I mean, it's just horrific. And it's just amazing to me that the White House press secretary can stand out there at the podium and say the borders are secure when you're watching live footage of people just walking across them, right? And so there's a lot of rhetoric coming out of the White House that does not reflect reality. And I agree with you that the support that we have given, the United States has given to Ukraine, is about the only bright spot on the news banner these days.
Dakota, last few years, we've spent billions of dollars on COVID relief, on infrastructure plans, on inflation, so-called Inflation Reduction Acts. Are we spending any of this money, or is the military budget going up at all? Where is that currently?
So in the current year, the military saw about a 4% increase, 4.5%. Inflation is running 8 to 9%. So even when we've got a plus up in real dollars, it's all been eaten away, and we actually see a net loss in purchasing power. Yet we've got the average age of Air Force fighter aircraft is 32 years old. We're flying bombers that are approaching 80 years old. Aerial refuelers are 65 years old on average. The Army is only training at the company level, not at battalion or brigade level. The Army is not going to be able to make its in-strength goals this year. And whereas toward the end of the Cold War, almost 800,000 soldiers, today they're approaching 450,000. So the money coming out of this administration into the military is paltry, and it's a real shame. And yet other departments and agencies that are really promoting this woke agenda from the Biden White House received upwards of 30 and 40% increase. So the White House's priorities are completely askew, and we saw that in stark relief a year ago, with the debacle and pulling out of Afghanistan. So it's just, again, not a lot of good news, and people should really think about that when they're thinking about the next election cycle.
Check out all things Dakota Wood at heritage.org. Dakota, thanks so much for all your insight and your expertise, and thanks for joining Chris and I today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Dakota Wood there, veteran senior research fellow for defense programs at the Heritage Foundation. Brilliant guy, Chris. Always love
I
when
enjoy
he
talking to him.
jumps in. Yeah.
He's not Jim Carafano, but Dakota is a good replacement.
Dakota's all business.
He is all business.
Very all business. We like to have a little more fun with Jim, but Jim's the wild man. We love ourselves some Dakota, though. Heritage is just fantastic all around. All right, we have Chris's Corner. Next.
Chris's Corner is about the religious freedom case was discussed today, a ruling, and we'll talk about that.
All the facts on that. When we come back, go nowhere. Chris's Corner up next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Let's go down to the Sunset Grill.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Don't miss the energy savings event at Lowe's. Save energy and save money on select major appliances, including Whirlpool. Selection varies by location. Exclusions apply. Visit Lowe's.com for details. Valid through 9/28. Eastbound 70 at St. Charles Rock Road. They just reopened all lanes. They cleared that debris that fell from a truck earlier. Traffic backs up east of the Blanchette Bridge. Westbound 70 lining up for a look at 170. Accident cleared from the right lane southbound 270 before Doherty Ferry. A pretty solid backup all the way to Page. You have two accidents northbound 270 south of Gravois. One on the right shoulder, one blocking the left lane. Westbound 44 lines up Laclede Station to a crash at Big Bend, and they cleared the accident eastbound 64 at Illinois 159. I'm Tori Lyons from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. It's getting a little hotter each day we go, and it definitely will be hotter for the weekend. Tonight, a low down to 63. Not as cool as earlier in the week, but still a mild start. 88 for the afternoon high, not too humid. Partly to mostly sunny, really a nice day. Saturday, a high of 90, partly cloudy and dry. Sunday, partly to mostly sunny with a high of 92 as the temperatures keep climbing. More 90s on into early next week. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
I think they're trying to attack the American people.
Live and local.
Gabe, Mike, Ken, you guys are my morning cup of mental coffee. I love the show. Definitely a convert from the old one.
This is News Talk STL.
Selling your St. Louis area home is a big deal. It's one of the biggest financial transactions you will ever make. In St. Louis, call Gloria Lou with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. That's Gloria Lou with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She'll do a great job for you. Gloria has mastered the home selling process to help you maximize the sale of your home in this crazy seller's market. Why, Miss Lou? Gloria already has the buyers. thousands of them looking for homes in your neighborhood and your price range. Fact is, with Gloria Lou, your home may already be sold. And while most agents make big promises, Gloria will sell your home at the agreed price and time frame, or she will buy it, guaranteed in writing. So please call Gloria Lou today, 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com, GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. Doug and Safe Money Radio is on 3 times every weekend, but in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com or call 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
For $1 a day, if any covered appliance breaks in your home, we guarantee to fix or replace it. All makes and models, washers, dryers, refrigerators, air conditioners, and more. Guaranteed to be fixed or replaced for $1 a day. Call the Home Service Club now for free information.
800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. That's 800-399-3701.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
So Mark Mantovani will be the Republican candidate for county executive. We'll see what Missouri Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft has to say about that at 9:41 on Friday.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
And welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show here on Thursday, September the 15th. Can you all believe it is the middle of the month? What happened?
Oh, my God. Are you serious? It is? Yeah. Wow.
Wow. Yeah. And it's only a 30-day month, so we are somebody said something like it was 52 or 53 days till the midterm today. Man, it's going to be here before we know it.
Can I admit something to you guys?
What's that?
And maybe it was a little early. Katie, you may like this. Becky went to a meeting last night, and I was at home, and I cranked up the fire pit. I mean, it was about 66, 67, but man, it felt good. It was a good fire too.
You're right. It is getting in the evenings. The humidity is once the humidity is out of the air in St. Louis, it gets crisp and cool every evening. It really does.
I was like, oh, I just need some pumpkin latte, spice crap, and not be just having the time of my life.
I can go get you that bottle that Gabe Pfeiffer brought in. You can drink the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like, that's all I need. Like, I'm stuck with this damn beer, but I'd sure love to have some pumpkin spice
latte. A little PSL. Oh my, we've got a lot to talk about. We just got to remember what it was.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Show, I think.
Welcome back to the show. We got Chris's Corner up here in just a secondo, and then when we come back at the 5 o'clock hour, Chris, we're going to have a speaker stump speech, and Larry Behrens, who is one of our energy experts, going to talk to us about all the energy issues. You've been talking about them and focused on them quite a bit. There's a lot of warning signs coming out of Europe that we should start paying attention to over here, but we'll see if our administration is going to prepare us for that this winter or not.
I think, yeah. And I should have looked at the show sheet a little more carefully and saw that we had him as a guest, but that is perfect because, as I said, I read the other day about home heating oil prices are going to skyrocket on the Northeast. And, that's not something we use here in the Midwest. We have propane, people that are out in the rural areas, or electric or heat. We don't have to have somebody come to our house and fill up a tank of oil to heat our house. I like to learn a little bit more about that. I'm always curious.
I can get one of my New York buddies on. I sort of remember. So like in the big apartment complexes, they've got these big boilers and stuff in the basement. And when I lived in this apartment building in Queens, they had the old radiator heaters that would go clank, 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 clank as they were filling up with the water. And I remember them telling us that in the basement is a boiler, and then you have another unit that you put the oil, put the
Mhm.
oil in to keep everything all lubricated and running. And in many parts of the East, they still have those old systems because they still work.
Yeah, and that was my next question. I'm curious, why didn't they just get rid of that and go to an electric or a gas heating system? Why are they still using oil
I
like
think
that?
it's the cost of hauling all that infrastructure out of those old buildings and then
Yeah.
putting the new stuff in. You're talking probably lots of money to do that. And so I guess they're like, well, it ain't broke, so don't fix it. So keep it rolling.
Makes sense. Well, I got a Chris's
Yes, you
Corner
do.
today, and it is regarding religious freedom, and we'll get into it.
Chris. The whole thing is a joke.
Good God, we got to do something here, people.
It's not personal. It's strictly business.
My favorite black leader of all time is Frederick Douglass, who asked after emancipation, well, we just freed the blacks, now what are we going to do with them? And his answer was, leave us alone.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
This last Supreme Court term was a monumental term for conservatives. Not only was Roe v. Wade overturned and that decision was given back to the states for them to make that, but also we had two religious freedom cases. We had the case of the high school football coach who was admonished for praying in the middle of the field at the end of a high school football game. He did not require his players or students to join him. It was a voluntary thing. He was fired, but the Supreme Court decision that came down said that it's okay for him to do that. There is not a separation of church and state issue with that. The other case was up in New England, where in a rural area where there was not a public school district, that the Supreme Court ruled that it's okay to use public money to send kids to Catholics or parochial schools. They judged that okay. So we're feeling pretty good about religious liberty. But here's a case that was ruled recently that may disappoint us a bit, but it is temporary. A lower court has ruled that Yeshiva University, a private Jewish university, has to allow a LGBTQ club on their campus. As I said, the lower court ruled that on that and said they had to accept them. But today, the Supreme Court ruled that they were allowed to do that only temporarily. I'm sure this is a case that will end up in the Supreme Court. The dissenters on this case, of course, are in the majority, were Justice Roberts and Kavanaugh, which is a bit of surprise. But this is why I love we have a show with a resident attorney, because we can pick his brain on all of these legal matters of why Justice Kavanaugh decided that he's going to side with the people that said Yeshiva has to allow these people, even though he is a conservative. Now, in the dissent, the dissenters said that once this case comes before them, that Yeshiva will probably win this case. So there's a lot of questions that I have for Tim about procedural grounds here. Why didn't they just rule today and said that Yeshiva doesn't have to do this? Why, or does it have to go through all the procedures to get to the Supreme Court? Those are interesting questions, interesting times, but I do think that this court has signaled that they are in support of religious freedom. And even though it may not have happened in this particular ruling, it's not over yet. And the dissenters said that they will probably win once this case comes before them. So let's talk about it. 314-912-1019. Give us your thoughts on it. And Tim, give me your thoughts on this case. And that is Chris's Corner.
Mm-hmm. So I think it was only because that this was a procedural request at this point in time. So, purists on religious liberty would say it doesn't matter if it's a procedural request or ruling on the merits. We should never block someone's First Amendment rights when we're talking about religious freedom or freedom of speech. But I, on the other hand, Kavanaugh and Roberts tend to look at things. They tend to put the substantive issues aside and separate that from what this was, which was a procedural request. So they're saying, so what the Supreme Court did yesterday was to deny an emergency request to block the lower court order. So when you're asking for, so they're asking basically for temporary restraining orders. I was looking for the words. That's what we call it in Missouri. So you're asking for a TRO, and the standard for a TRO is really high. You have to show, amongst other things, that you're going to encounter irreparable harm if the request is not granted. So I think many would say, I'm looking for some text here, and I can't find exactly what they said. But and we have a phone call coming in. And what I think what they would say is, look, we're talking about a school recognizing a club. There's not going to be irreparable harm one way or the other if we grant or deny this. If we deny this request, there's not going to be any irreparable harm. Nobody's really harmed here. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a different situation. Let me give you another hypothetical. Bulldozer is coming to knock down a forest to build a bunch of condos. Well, homeowners in a neighboring subdivision may say, holy cow, if you start building this apartment complex, you're going to destroy this forest. This forest has great historical significance to us. The court in that situation might grant a TRO, even if the builder is ultimately successful on their property rights claim. If they allow the bulldozer to go through, you've created irreparable harm. You can't replant the forest.
Let's talk about this. Can we come back? Can yeshiva claim that they are irreparably harmed because they are a religious institution that is being forced to accept something that goes against their teaching?
Yeah, very possible. Very possible. We've got to get out of here for now, but we'll be right back. We'll try to take some of your phone calls when we come back. We got the speaker stump speech. We've got Larry Behrens on energy issues, and we'll continue this discussion about this interesting Supreme Court case of LGBT rights versus religious freedom that Chris has raised. All that and more when we come back. 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Since 2007, the state of Missouri and local governments have handed out almost $5 billion in tax subsidies or abatements to private developers. That money could have gone to basic services like schools and public safety. And studies show these subsidies don't produce the promised jobs and growth. If developers want to build a sports stadium or shopping mall, why should they be given our tax dollars to do it? It's time to reform economic development subsidies. The Show Me message has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Hey folks, here's great news for active aging seniors. The Kanega Watch, the only medical alert smartwatch with built-in fall detection. Yeah, the Kanega Watch is much different than the other guys. It's a stylish, discreet watch you can wear all the time. Get help through the watch in one of three ways. Your voice, pushing the watch's alert button, or have the fall detection connect you to a U.S.-based 24/7 monitoring center who'll speak to you through your watch and can send help to your GPS location nationwide. And get this, it can do that even if you're not responsive. This is true 24/7 peace of mind for you and those that love you. Order your Kanega watch with a full refund 30-day trial period. Call now, 800-413-7152. 800-413-7152. 800-413-7152. That's 800-413-7152.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
All.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. President Biden will meet tomorrow with the families of 2 Americans who remain jailed in Russia. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
The president will host the families of basketball star Brittany Griner and security executive Paul Whelan
to discuss his continuing commitment to bringing their family members home safely.
Spokeswoman Karine Jean-Pierre says the U.S. continues to follow up on a proposal it made in July to Russia to win their release. The White House meetings are to be the first in-person encounter between Mr. Biden and the families. Greg Clugston, Washington.
An intelligence report validates U.S. predictions of the threat from the terror group Islamic State. Correspondent Norman Hall reports.
According to a newly declassified report, U.S. intelligence officials predicted 2 years ago that the Islamic State group would likely regain much of its former strength, particularly if Western forces reduced their role in countering the extremist movement. Analysts said many of the judgments in the 2020 report now appear prescient, particularly as the group is resurgent in Afghanistan following last year's American withdrawal. The group no longer controls huge swaths of territory or staging attacks against the U.S., but it is slowly rebuilding in Iraq and Syria and fighting local governments in places including Afghanistan. Norman Hall, Washington.
A boil water notice was lifted Thursday in Mississippi's capital city after nearly 7 weeks, according to Mississippi GOP Governor Tate Reeves. Emergency repairs are still underway after problems at Jackson's main water treatment plant caused most customers to lose service for several days in late August and early September. The National Guard and volunteer groups have distributed millions of bottles of drinking water in Jackson since late August. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 173 points. The Nasdaq dropped 167. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
There is no country in this world that a black person would rather be. Unless, of course, they grow up in this country.
Uncle Tom 2 from Larry Elder and Justin Malone uncovers the Marxist plot using false racial tension to demoralize America.
They're fed a lie that is so deceptive. They actually believe the opposite of that which is true.
The first act in organizing our people is to let them know who they are.
Uncle Tom 2. Watch on demand or buy the DVD at salemnow.com. Salemnow.com.
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
Stocks closing lower on Wall Street.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Blindster. Want to save big on new blinds? Blindster.com offers custom-made blind shades and shutters shipped directly to you at prices less than big box retailers. Shop Blindster and save 45% off any order. Just use the code RADIO. Offer ends soon. Shop Blindster.com. Debris cleared eastbound 70 at St. Charles Rock Road. Expect residual delays both east and westbound. A pretty solid backup eastbound 70 crossing the Museo Veterans Bridge into Illinois. Accident cleared eastbound 64 at Illinois 159. 2 accidents northbound 270 south of Gravois, one blocking the 2 left lanes, another one on the right shoulder. Accident blocking the right lane westbound 44 at Big Bend. Southbound 270 lines up between Page and Manchester. Slow eastbound 64 Clayton Morrison to Big Bend, and southbound 170 on the brakes at Del Mar. I'm Tori Lyons from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. It's getting a little hotter each day we go, and it definitely will be hotter for the weekend. Tonight, a low down to 63. Not as cool as earlier in the week, but still a mild start. 88 for the afternoon high, not too humid. Partly to mostly sunny. Really a nice day. Saturday, a high of 90, partly cloudy and dry. Sunday, partly to mostly sunny with a high of 92 as the temperatures keep climbing. More 90s on into early next week. That's the latest First Alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The candidates.
We're going to win this campaign.
The issues.
Gas prices, Biden inflation.
The election news, analysis, and opinion you won't get anywhere else. Decision 2022 happens.
There's a backlash coming
on News Talk STL.
Hey, Chris Arps here to tell you about my good friends over at the Dental Link, a state-of-the-art facility offering a full range of dental services, including cosmetic and implant dentistry. I received my text message from the Dental Link this week for my scheduled appointment on Monday. Can't wait to see the good Dr. Alan Link and start getting my dental implants. If you are missing one or more teeth or suffer from loose dentures, many dental implants might be the solution for you. Many dental implants are less invasive, less painful, and your recovery time is much shorter. Plus, best of all, the cost to you is much less than with older, more traditional dental implants. 2 convenient locations in Baldwin and Melville. Call the Dental Link today at 314-794-6464. That's 314-794-6464, thedentallink.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win election.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
We are at war with these people. These folks are evil. They have allowed evil into their house with Donald Trump. He has now dominated the party. This evil is spreading. And when you are in a war footing, you have to respond accordingly. It's about time President Joe Biden decided to get tough. It's about time his advisors stop being weak and stop being impotent and not fighting back. What these people want to do to this country is destroy democracy. They want to rig elections.
And welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show here at 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Happy Friday Eve. It's a Thursday, September the 15th, 5:07 in the PM. We all can't believe it's the middle point of the month. Thanks for spending your time with us this afternoon. Chris, there's a clip we can just play from now until the election to remind people of what Democrats, their corporate media mouthpieces, and the left think about anybody who dares to support Republicans like Donald Trump.
Yeah, Roland Martin is a washed-up has-been political analyst who was a staple on CNN a few years ago as the black provocateur, loudmouth that stirred up controversy. The type of comments that we just played are comments that he says regularly. He now has his own Black Star network. So he's basically on MSNBC shilling for viewers for his network by saying the craziest thing possible. That's all it is.
I remember it was yesterday, I believe we had Horace Cooper on and we asked him about that kind of inflammatory rhetoric. And Horace said something to the extent of, yeah, they're all just a bunch of political serial killers. I mean, yeah. They really are. Chris, back to the Yeshiva University case. Sir. I took a look a little closer at some of the specific language that was mentioned in the dissent.
Break it down, counselor.
Of that case. And you were definitely on the right track as to what the court thought. And probably, Chris, where the majority of the court is going to go. Justice Samuel Alito, who's one of the court's staunchest defenders of religious freedom and liberty, currently wrote the dissent, joined by Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, and Amy Coney Barrett, saying, first of all, the university is likely going to win if its case came before us on the merits. Alito added the high court does possess the authority to halt the lower court ruling. He admitted that, but he said, look, they're probably going to win on the merits if and when we actually consider this case. He also delved into the tenets of the First Amendment, arguing that, quote, if the guarantees of the right to the free exercise of religion mean anything, it prohibits a state from enforcing its own preferred interpretation of Holy Scripture. And that's basically what we were talking about in the break. Katie was like saying, well, why would they want to do that? Well, because they can. These people want, these leftists want to bend everyone to their version of their own secular religion.
I mean, if this ruling stands, does this mean that the Church of Satan can have a club on St. Louis University's campus or Notre Dame, and they can't stop that?
You know, I don't think so because, again...
Well, it sounded like a good analogy. Come on, Tim, give it to me.
It is. If Chris, the case had been decided on the merits, I would be worried.
Right.
Again, this was an emergency request for a temporary restraining order. So you don't get into the substantive arguments. You stay on the procedural grounds. But I agree with you because Yeshiva's saying, what do you mean we're not going to be irreparably harmed? Our whole mission as a religious Jewish university is to teach things differently from what this club is trying to force us to do. So whether we're temporarily required to allow them or permanently, we're being harmed a little or harmed a lot. It's kind of like saying I'm only a little bit pregnant, you know? Our religious tenets, they're being damaged right now. And for how much longer is their question.
And you know how it is in this country, and when it comes to court, especially Supreme Court, once a right or something has been given, courts are loath to take it away. And I think that's one of the concerns that Yeshiva has, is that, okay, it's temporary. You can allow this club to stay, but that may make it permanent in a sense because they're there now. Let's let them stay there. You know, I think that's an argument that they're afraid of.
No, you're
or a concern.
No, absolutely right. That's absolutely true. So, yeah, it's we'll see if the case goes back before them on. This was so the way this is proceeding to this point was kind of like, remember the whole abortion scenario with the Texas law and all that? And they said, well, eventually it's going to get before us on the merits, and it did. It's kind of like, okay, come on. Can we just, hopefully this gets expedited and gets before the court this term. And we'll have something to talk to Zach Smith about.
That's what I was about to say. Stell, are you going to be here tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
You got to remind us to discuss this with our legal eagle, Zach Smith, tomorrow.
Okay, we'll do.
All right.
Make a note. We're going to have to get Stell a pad.
Yeah,
legal pad.
Keep it in your head. Don't write it down like I do. Yeah, it works great.
All right. Well, I'm going to shift gears slightly, but I would say this case has something to do with what I'm going to talk about in today's Speaker's Stump Speech.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
So that's another reason we need communism.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
You know, the Democrats have had the rule of the roost for what? I'd say, let's see, we're in September now. So about 21 months now, Joe Biden has ruled the roost in the White House. And the leftist regime that the Democrats have become have ruled the House and the U.S. Senate, thanks to the evenly divided Senate, which allows Kamala Harris, crazy Kamala, the supposed border czar. The border was brought to her today. That's for sure. They've had the rule of the Senate as well with the Kamala tiebreaker. So, you know, all that the Republicans have been able to do, despite the fact that the Democrats and some in the leftist corrupt corporate media think that the Republicans are the fascists. Well, you know, to be the fascist, you would have to have some kind of power. And Republicans have had zero power for the last 20 to 21 months in Washington, D.C. All they've been able to do is give speeches in congressional hearings. And I think some of those have been very important. Arguably, maybe all of them have been very important because they've been giving a voice to the, quote, hashtag resistance that the Democrats used to talk about so gleefully. The title of today's stump speech, though, is Reality Best Served Cold. Little play on the old axiom adage of revenge is best served cold. Look, up to this point, the only thing that, as I said, Republicans have been able to do, and those who oppose all these crazy ideas of having a completely and utterly open border, of spending trillions and trillions of dollars, and is been able to sit back, watch, and push back verbally. Well, the reality being served cold, we saw our first example of that here today. After yelling and screaming, as they rightly should, about the Biden border crisis, of trying to show lawmakers in Washington, D.C., the dysfunctional Democrats and people who act like, oh, the border is just a problem oh so far away and we don't have to worry about it, despite showing them all the images of little children being thrown over border fences, of people being drowned before their very eyes in the Rio Grande and other rivers, of bodies being hauled out of 115-degree tractor trailer trucks. Haven't all of those images been stark and glaring and brutal? But yet Democrats who supposedly care about people, who are supposed to be the humanitarian party, have been the opposite of such. They acted like they really haven't cared. Joe Biden doesn't ever say the word southern border, and he hasn't taken a second to visit it. He's able to go visit Iowa tractor farms and Detroit auto plants and spend a lot of time trying to shake hands with people who aren't there. But he can't take 5 minutes to fly down to the border and see what's going on there. There's plenty of Democratic congressmen and women that have asked him to come down and look at that. So we saw our first example of reality being served cold when Governors Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis came up with a brilliant idea. They decided to stop pontificating, stop giving speeches. And again, all of that is very important to point out to the American people what's going on in border communities, and simply take action. They didn't ask for permission. They didn't make a big deal about it. They simply used their state resources to load illegal immigrants who have newly arrived in this country up on planes and buses and unceremoniously drop them off at Martha's Vineyard, which has declared a state of emergency for the humanitarian crisis they're experiencing, and even more brilliantly, at the front steps of the vice president's residence in Washington, D.C. If Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are not going to go to the border, then I think it's wonderful that Republican governors have brought the border crisis to them so they can no longer ignore it. You know, Americans have been dealing with all sorts of harsh realities this last year and a half. Inflation, which has resulted in huge spikes at the gas pump, only just now slightly going down. Let's remember, though, gas is still way above where it was when Donald Trump left office. Groceries are at all-time. Food is at an all-time high as far as cost, the highest that it has been in 43 years. Energy bills are skyrocketing. Look, there's a few things that make it possible for a country to have a middle class, and those are affordable fuel, energy, and food. When you have the basic necessities of life becoming very affordable, then you can have a very vibrant middle class. It seems like that is exactly what the Democrats in today's leftist progressive party are trying to destroy. If you take away the affordability of food, the affordability of fuel, the affordability of energy in its entirety, then what you're going to be left with are the haves and the have-nots, the ultra elites and the ultra poor. And that seems to be exactly where they're trying to go. You know, they also seem to be very intent on taking away rights that create a middle class as well. When you have people that are able to freely exercise their Second Amendment rights, their right to life, their right to speech, their right to privacy, their right to health care, you have a very educated, vibrant, exuberant, and middle class living their lives with freedom, prosperity, and happiness. All of those things have been under attack by today's Democratic Party. You know, the ultimate reality served cold, though, will be in about 54 days or so when people go to the polls. I'm not going to predict any sort of red tsunami or red wave. I do believe that Americans are ready for a change in philosophy and a change in the political direction of this country. And that's the stump speech for today, September the 15th, 2022.
I agree with that. We will see a change. I don't know if it will be the red tsunami that everyone thought, but I think the House is gone. We only need 3 or 4 seats. And I think our Senate candidates are going to do a lot better than we expected, especially in this Pennsylvania race with John Fetterwoman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a joke. I call him Fetterwoman because
he
called himself John Fetterwoman.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah, you know, Chris, I would take a net 1, just a net 1 in the Senate. A net one would be just fine. You would shift the tide of this country in a dramatic fashion.
And we don't have to hear Kamala with the gavel cackling and overturning the Senate, or presiding over the Senate.
No more Kamala cackle.
Yeah.
Ooh, I think we just invented a phrase there.
Kamala cackle.
All right, we'll be back with Larry Behrens, Energy Expert Communications Director for Power the Future. Been talking a lot of energy issues. Let's bring in an expert to see if we've been on the right track this week when Tim and Chris return here at 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Follow us on Getter at News Talk STL. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. It's getting a little hotter each day we go, and it definitely will be hotter for the weekend. Tonight, a low down to 63. Not as cool as earlier in the week, but still a mild start. 88 for the afternoon high, not too humid. Partly to mostly sunny, really a nice day. Saturday, a high of 90, partly cloudy and dry. Sunday, partly to mostly sunny with a high of 92 as the temperatures keep climbing. More 90s on into early next week. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Blindster. Do you need new blinds or shades? Blindster.com offers custom-made blind shades and shutters shipped directly to you at prices less than big box retailers. Blindster blinds, easy to install and guaranteed to fit. Don't overpay for new blinds. Shop and save big at Blindster.com. Heavy eastbound 70, 141 to Lindbergh. Solid eastbound 70 crossing the Museo Veterans Bridge. Accident northbound 270 south of Gravois in the two left lanes, backing up traffic at 55. Bumper to bumper southbound 55 between 7th Street and Bates, and an accident southbound 55 south of Route Z. Southbound 270 jams Page to Manchester. Accident cleared westbound 44 at Big Bend. And baseball traffic eastbound 64 heavy at Clarkson Olive and 270 to Big Bend. Southbound 170 backing up at Olive. I'm Tori Lyons from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Hey, folks, Tim Jones here for Jones Air and Water. Simply put, Jones Air and Water specializes in air and water treatment products and services to enhance easy living in your home or business. Let me tell you about the special that Everett Jones at Jones Air and Water has this month, the Hydratech HTO. That stands for hardness, taste, and odor removal. You need that if you're one of the homes in our area, one of the many homes in our area that has chlorinated hard municipal water. This one-of-a-kind combo system offers the same high-quality product water that you would have if you had a separate softener and carbon filtration unit. The Hydratech HGO combines it all in one space-saving singular unit design. You also appreciate saving money with that one unit as instead of two as well. Lower upfront costs, lower annual costs as well. You know, Everett Jones and Jones Air Water has all kinds of air and water treatment products, air purification systems, high-efficiency water softeners. We've got the reverse osmosis WOW system here at News Talk STL, and I've got it in my Jones home as well. It's fantastic. We've been loving it since Everett installed it. He services the entire St. Louis metro area and beyond. He's always saying, hey, I'm listening to you guys here. I'm listening to you guys there. And he is everywhere, all across the region, every single day. He's been doing that for the past 25 plus years. He's got a multitude of 5-star ratings from the BBB, and Angie, formerly known as Angie's List, gave him a top rating for 2021. Everett always says you can be a filter or you can buy a filter from Jones Air and Water. You can give him a call, 636-899-1040. Easier yet, simply go to joneswater.com, joneswater.com.
Do you live in West St. Louis County? Then you can get West News Magazine delivered free to your home just by asking for it. West News Magazine is the only print source for the political, school, business, and sports news happening in your hometown. Simply visit westnewsmagazine.com/subscribe or pick up a free copy at all area Deerbergs and Schnuck stores. West News Magazine. Anybody who wants it, gets it. Anybody who gets it, wants it. Subscribe for free today. Simply visit westnewsmagazine.com/subscribe.
How is your car payment treating you? What if I told you you could make a free phone call right now and reduce your car payment by as much as $83 a month? Look at your car payment closely. You could be paying as high as 20% interest. Rate Genius can help you reduce your car payments by reducing your interest rate to as low as 2.48% APR. We can refinance most existing car loans or leased cars, new or used, and save you money every month. Put more money back in your pocket. The call is free to find out how low we can lower your car payment. 5 minutes of your time right now could save you hundreds of dollars a year. Call Rate Genius now.
800-764-2179. 800-764-2179. 800-764-2179. That's 800-764-2179.
Not all applicants qualify for a loan or rate savings. Actual offer terms, including APR, are determined at the time of your application based on creditworthiness, value of the vehicle, loan term, and other factors.
The news and talk
This bill is the biggest step forward on climate ever.
that matters to St. Louis.
We are doing this responsibly. A lot of people have called this vote buying ahead of the midterm.
News, analysis, opinion. 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stiefel. Contact your Stiefel financial advisor at stiefel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
California is in the lead, can show the rest of the nation how it is done. I love the fact that California is unabashedly bold about energy policy. Obviously, that's where I'm interested in. You know, I think it's the canary in the coal mine.
Well, there you go, Chris. California leading the way for our energy independence into the future.
And as we said yesterday, the canary in the coal mine doesn't get the good end of the deal on this. So, they die. So does California dying?
Well, many of us think it's just going to fall into the Pacific Ocean someday.
Interesting analogy.
You know what? What do we know? Let's bring in an energy expert who can maybe set us right or wrong. Let's talk to Larry Behrens once again, energy expert, comms director for energy advocacy group Power the Future. Where can you find more info on Power the Future? Well, simply at powerthefuture.com. Larry, good afternoon. Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Hope everything's going well for you today.
Yes, sir.
Doing well. So, Larry, isn't California showing the entire nation, showing Missouri, the show me state, showing us in spades, right? What not to do as far as an energy future? What say you as to that?
I say absolutely. I tell folks all the time here in Missouri, you don't know how good you have it. And it can turn very badly very quickly if you start embracing the same policies that California and Washington, D.C. want you to embrace. They want you to abandon affordable, reliable energy for stuff that is more expensive and, gets you into flex alerts on a daily basis where you won't be able to charge your Tesla. It is a terrible situation. All joking aside, California is the poster child for the green movement, and it is an absolute failure.
Larry, there is a looming energy crisis occurring on the East Coast. We don't use home heating oil in the Midwest. We have gasoline and electric or propane. But there is talk that there's going to be huge price increases for home heating oil on the East Coast. I didn't even know we had this, but Senators Markey, Warren, and Hassan, they want the Biden administration to release oil from the Northeast Home Heating Oil Reserve. Didn't know we had such a thing as that.
Yeah, absolutely. We have these strategic reserves, and it's a little different than the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, but we have these reserves for emergencies, for absolute emergencies, not for man-made energy crises. And you're absolutely right. You know what? And this is the part where Missouri, St. Louis does need to worry. If your home is heated by natural gas, if your home is heated by electricity, the inflation report that came out earlier this week that everyone thought would be a little lower, it was higher because of natural gas and electricity. Those rates are shooting up. Natural gas is 33% more expensive this year, and that's before I've turned on my furnace this winter. I know many folks here in St. Louis haven't turned it on yet as well. And so if the price is 33% higher, you know it's going to be a tough winter. It's an entirely man-made energy crisis. We talk a lot, as we should, about Joe Biden shutting off public lands for oil production, but he also shuts it off to natural gas production. There's natural gas in Pennsylvania. There's natural gas there's natural gas all over the United States that could help not only the cost here at home, but help our allies in Europe who are really freaking out right now. I know you won't see it if you turn on the evening news, but keeping homes warm this winter is going to be an expensive prospect, and that's actually better than what our friends in Europe are going to be facing because they're looking at energy scarcity.
Larry, isn't it true that the United States of America could just turn every single switch in the nation off tomorrow, shut down all of our coal-fired plants, everything we do as far as natural gas, any other fossil fuel, and it would really make not much of a difference as to anything? Because I guess the leftists don't understand, Larry, we're on a globe and it spins around an axis and it goes through atmospheric pressures and changes such that we're all basically rolling through that same atmosphere. So we could go ahead and continue to unilaterally disarm, but China and India and Pakistan and the rest of the, quote, developing world, they're not going to do that, are they? And so we're number one, we're not making much of a difference, are we, with everything the leftists are trying to push and promote? And number two, we're basically harming ourselves and our national security in the process.
You're absolutely right, and sadly, it gets worse than that. Let me turn the speaker up to 11 on that, because everything you said is exactly true, and then it gets worse. So we shut it all down tomorrow, and I guess that means we'll have saved the earth. But the number one source for the sun panels and the windmills that the eco-left just loves, the artifacts of their religion, is China. So not only have you compromised us and surrendered our energy independence, you have now made us dependent on a foreign adversary for something as critical as energy. And, I'm old enough to remember that we used to lament the fact that OPEC was in charge of our lives. Well, thanks to Joe Biden, they are again. But imagine if, the Chinese Communist Party was in charge of our lives. And maybe they said, you know what? We're going to do what we want with Taiwan. You don't do a thing about it because otherwise we'll stop your sun panels and windmills coming your way. Don't think it'll happen? Look what Vladimir Putin has done over Ukraine. He has shut off the entire continent from his natural gas. And so energy is something critical in a first world society like we live in, and it could absolutely be used as a weapon against us.
Larry, on the Power of the Future website, it says your mission here as a 501c4 is to offer truth, facts, and research that will enrich the national conversation on energy. Expound on that some, sir.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said expound on that, please.
Oh, absolutely. So, I can tell you, if you look at groups like the Natural Resources Defense Council, the Sierra Club, those are all household names in the environmental community. But what there isn't a household name is a group that stands up for the American energy worker, the people extracting the oil from the ground, the people that are the miners, the people that are, processing oil, they're processing natural gas, they're in the coal mines, they're keeping the lights on, they're making it possible for us to even have this conversation. They are voiceless and they are under constant attack by those groups that I mentioned. And those groups, by the way, are awfully slow to disclose if their funding is coming from foreign sources. I can tell you Power of the Future's funding does not come from any foreign sources. I absolutely guarantee you that. But you have to ask yourself, as we look at these groups and they're advocating for things that surrender American energy independence, who does that really serve? It serves a lot of our adversaries on the world stage. And so back to your question, we exist to be the voice for them because I know that they are hard at work right now, keeping the lights on for everyone, and they're not being able to stand up to the demonization coming from the left. Luckily, that's our job.
Speaking to Larry Behrens, who is an energy expert and the communications director for Power of the Future, powerofthefuture.com. You can follow Larry as well. He's at Larry Behrens on Twitter. Larry, what about the railroad crisis that's been averted for now? Larry, first of all, that would have been that seemed to kind of pop out of nowhere, although I understand that's probably been simmering and percolating for a while, and it just hit the headlines over the last few days because it looked like for a moment there that that there was going to be a railway shutdown. So explain to us, first of all, how devastating that would be for already stressed supply lines in our economy. And secondly, have we averted this for good for the foreseeable future, or has the can just been kicked down the road a little bit?
I think it highlights, and not to get into, the rail workers, obviously, they have their side of the view, and I don't want to get into, what that back and forth. But what I do want to talk about is when you look at infrastructure, and rail is a critical part of that, it would absolutely devastate us energy-wise for the rail system to not be working. And how do we know that? Well, we've seen that when a single pipeline gets shut down, what it does to gas prices on the East Coast. And it highlights again, it accentuates this problem that the left has been, working for decades to shut down reliable infrastructure. Keystone Pipeline would help move some energy that rail maybe can't. And lo and behold, someone decided that it was in no joke. He actually said this, our national security best interest to not have that pipeline. And so he has, backdoor bureaucrats and agencies like FERC that none of us ever heard of, but yet they make decisions to shut down pipelines on a regular basis, projects that can help bring affordable, reliable energy across our country. And they put their foot down and say no, all in the name of the climate change religion. And so it highlights the fact that our energy infrastructure is being ignored, it's being fought against, and so we're having to rely on aging infrastructure to keep the lights on for something as critical as energy. And you know what? If you want to be a third world country, that's how it works. But that's not the country any of us grew up in. And so it's time to invest in American energy infrastructure, more pipelines, more refineries, and more opportunities for Americans to make us energy independent again.
Larry, with Senator Manchin being from a oil and natural gas producing state, he was considered a friend of energy workers. With him supporting this Inflation Reduction Act, which is a green boondoggle, the start of the green boondoggle for the Democrats, is Senator Manchin still considered a friend of energy workers and of the energy industry?
Well, I think that's something for the people of West Virginia to consider, because you're right. He does come from a huge energy state, and don't forget coal in that mix. That is a huge part of West Virginia. But he did vote for a bill that puts $369 billion into quote-unquote green, clean energy, which it's neither green unless you're the one pocketing the money, guy, and it's not clean. And so the fact of the matter is, imagine, let's go back to the rail workers real quick. Imagine if they decided $369 billion to help update our rail system, our pipeline system. Why can we not update one infrastructure? Because the left, who just sits there and is the beneficiaries of all this hard work, just decides that, you know what, we're going to switch it and go to get power from our friends, our campaign contributors. And so to get back to your question about Senator Manchin, I really have to leave that up to the folks of West Virginia, because he made a deal that said, you know what, I'm going to vote for this bill and get it over the top, but I expect something in return for the energy workers and the people of the fossil fuel industry who are really doing the hard work here. And it looks like Democrats are turning back on that deal right now, as they often do. There's Democrats in the House who are saying, you know what, I didn't make a deal with Joe Manchin. I'm not going to promise anything. I'm not going to vote for anything. And so knowing that anything that would benefit the American energy industry has to also go through Congress. And so they're pulling back on their deal, all the while, their homes stay warm and their lights stay on. And they just laugh at the men and the women who are getting their hands dirty and doing the work that make America move.
Larry, even if Congress flips this November, even if Republicans take the House and are blessed and lucky enough to get a net one pickup in the Senate, there's only so much they're going to be able to do, right, to push back on Joe Biden's insane agenda, because he'll just veto anything that they try to do legislatively, most likely, and maybe even budgetarily as well. Larry, one of the things they can do, and a lot of people, including myself from time to time, have complained about congressional hearings, but that is actually a duty of Congress. They have oversight authority. And I'm wondering if you all at Power of the Future would think that one of the vital things that Congress could do would perhaps put somebody like Jennifer Granholm on the hot seat next year in Congress and try to explain through her, cross-examine her on the hot seat of Congress and point out just the insanity and the destructiveness of this green energy fever dream that the left is pursuing and how harmful it is to the economy. Do you think they need to do that next year if they're able to have that oversight authority restored?
Absolutely, and that's a great point. And I, just like you, am not a fan of showboat hearings. You know, it's really funny that the Democrats brought oil executives when gas was record high, but now that gas is falling again, I guess those oil executives decided to stop being greedy. Oh no, that's right. It's all Joe Biden gets the credit now. And so, to your point exactly, here's what they can do. Yes, Jennifer Granholm, Deb Haaland, every member of the Biden cabinet who is pushing this insanity needs to be before Congress. And you know what? You're right that immediately on their budget they can't do anything. But you know what? There's going to need to be another budget passed. And I would like to see something along the lines of, you know what, Jennifer Granholm, you're so invested and you think California is a leader in green energy. We will only fund the Department of Energy as long as you get power from 100% renewable at your office. As long as you only your department only drives electric vehicles, just the ones you have. You don't get to buy new ones because the taxpayers shouldn't be on the hook for that. Then you go after their budgets and you say, hey, why is it that you expect Americans to live this way, but you won't even just work that way? And I think you'll find that they will not respond too kindly to having to live by the standards that are required of them. And secondly, there needs to be an investigation into what groups the Biden White House is listening to when it comes to this. I mean, you got John Podesta running this $369 billion. It doesn't get more slimy than that. And so they're just going to be doling it out to their friends. It's going to be money laundering through the Democratic Party. It's going to shockingly end up back in the campaign coffers of Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Joe Biden, because that's how they have to do it. They have to get the taxpayers to write a check, and then it goes to groups like the Sierra Club who promise to, promote green energy, and then the money just ends up from a Sierra Club PAC back into the coffers, helping Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi. That it is absolute money laundering. The guy that, the big guy always gets his 10%, and that absolutely needs to be investigated.
Larry, how can our listeners get more information about Power of the Future?
They can send their fossil fuel powered email to Larry at powerthefuture.com. They can send their fossil fuel powered tweets to @Larry Behrens. Always glad to hear from the fans. I really appreciate the work you guys do as well.
Larry, thank you so much.
Thank you, Larry.
You guys have a great day.
You too as well. All right, Larry Behrens there with Power of the Future, trying to yeah, man, they've got a big fight on their hands. They take on a lot of different groups every day with little powerthefuture.com there. So
he's very energetic and about what he does, and that goes a long way towards convincing people to join your cause.
Yes, it does. All righty. It is 5:41, almost 5:42 in the Heartland. We got another segment left this hour. In the 6 o'clock hour, it'll be rather full with Ron from the Range and Dakota Wood on all things national security and foreign policy wise. We can take your phone calls in the next segment if you'd like to place them. 314-912-1019. Please give us a holler. 314-912-1019 on anything we've discussed this afternoon on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like us on Facebook @News Talk STL.
Life is hard, but it's harder when you're stupid.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Blindster. Want to save big on new blinds? Blindster.com offers custom-made blind shades and shutters shipped directly to you at prices less than big box retailers. Shop Blindster and save 45% off any order. Just use the code RADIO. Offer ends soon. Shop today at Blindster.com. Eastbound 70, east of 270, there's an accident. Eastbound 70 backs up Salisbury to the Illinois Bank of the Museo Veterans Bridge. There's a crash on the westbound 70 ramp to northbound US 61. Accident westbound 4064 at 364. Southbound 270, stop and go. Page to Manchester, slow westbound 44 between Elm and Big Bend. Baseball traffic backing up eastbound 44 from Jefferson to Park. Eastbound 64, 270 to Big Bend. And southbound 170 heavy between Ladue and 64. I'm Tori Lyons from the News Talk STL
traffic center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. It's getting a little hotter each day we go, and it definitely will be hotter for the weekend. Tonight, a low down to 63. Not as cool as earlier in the week, but still a mild start. 88 for the afternoon high, not too humid, partly to mostly sunny. Really a nice day. Saturday, a high of 90, partly cloudy and dry. Sunday, partly to mostly sunny with a high of 92 as the temperatures keep climbing. More 90s on into early next week. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Talk radio made in St. Louis for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL.
Our responsibility.
News, analysis, and opinion.
To provide updated guidance.
At 1019, 941, and newstalkstl.com.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for the great team at All Solutions Pest Control. All Solutions is the pest control company Christine and I trust with our home because they don't cut corners and they take the time and use the best products available to help protect your home at the highest level possible. Call All Solutions Pest Control today at 636-486-7888 and learn more about our special $67 introductory offer or visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
She's a great conservative author, film producer, Nina May.
And I keep telling my liberal friends, I say, you think you're going to escape this? No, this is exactly what totalitarian governments do. They start with the low-hanging fruit, and then they're going to go after you because they can't trust you. No, we're going to have to line you guys up against the wall and shoot you.
Wow. You have liberal friends?
Vic Porcelli, live and local weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
When you retire, you leave a lot behind. But the one thing you take with you, a tax bill. And did you know that income taxes could be your single largest expense in retirement? The good news is, Steve All and his team at the All Financial Group, they can show you how it's possible for you to pay less to Uncle Sam with the right tax planning. And as Steve explains, we'll all have to adjust to tax changes that have been made over the past few years.
We had the Trump tax cuts. Those are going to expire. They got rid of the stretch IRA. If we've got historically low rates for at least the next 2 to 3 years, why don't we take advantage of it?
To learn more about your taxes in retirement, mark your calendars for Wednesday, September 28th at 6 p.m. at St. Peter's Cultural Arts Center. And while it's complimentary, you do need to reserve your spot today. Call 636-230-8824. Visit yourmoneymattersstl.com for more details.
The All Financial Group is a financial services firm that offers a broad array of products and services, including life insurance and annuities. Licensed in Missouri and Illinois.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
On Friday's program, we're taking a look at how bad St. Louis area small businesses are being hurt by the Biden economy. And we're going to meet News Talk STL's newest host.
Mornings starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
These 4,000-ish employees would have had access to live user data all over Twitter. They could access individual users' personal information, including their live data. Have I got that right?
Yes, sir. If they so they would have access to the production environment. If they spent the time to meander around and look around, they would find that they could access these large troves of data,
including geolocation data. Did you testify to that earlier today?
I know that Twitter has IP locations and that they do use geolocation services based upon IP addresses.
Wow, 4,000 employees with access to that data. That's extraordinary. So those employees would be in a position then, if they wanted to get this information and dox Twitter users. Is that fair to say?
That is a concern of mine, sir. Yes.
Wow. That's a significant concern. 4,000 people with the ability to dox individual users who pick up the phone and use Twitter.
Well, it's a little terrifying. Chris, Josh Hawley there ferreting out that that was a Twitter whistleblower, by the way, of Pieter Zatko, saying that 4,000 Twitter employees can find you at the drop of a hat if they want to.
You know, I don't know what I think about this. One, I mean, Twitter's a private company. If their 4,000 employees have access to this information, which they could use to dox people or use it for nefarious purposes, is that necessarily Twitter's fault?
I would think so, especially what if it comes out even further that what we learned from Mark Zuckerberg, that the biggest big tech companies were working hand in hand with the government. What if you insert the federal government into the equation, and then they're also developing, they have the ability to access databases of people.
Yeah, that I'd have a problem with, but just employees of a company have access to records and they could use them for nefarious reasons. Let's blame Twitter for that. I don't know. Maybe you could maybe blame them for not having as strong controls as you would like, but I don't know if that's worthy of a Senate hearing.
Well, I think the next connection they're going to is, and how closely do you work hand in hand with the government when they make requests of you? Because as you talked about earlier in the week, the government's trying really hard by utilizing credit card companies and possibly big tech companies to create a gun registry database. They've been trying to do that for decades. That happened when I was in the legislature. We found out that the Social Security division of the federal government was able to obtain the entire database from our Department of Revenue in Missouri of people that had a concealed carry permit.
And Tim, if I remember correctly, didn't the Honorable Jay Nixon voluntarily give that information to them, if I remember correctly?
He said, here you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like something that just, we got this somehow. I mean, the governor's like, here, you can have it.
So long story short, big tech's on the hot seat. And, I do get conflicted on this because, yes, on one hand, I agree with you. We don't want to start creating laws that affect private companies that could destroy the free market, right? Conservatives generally stay out of the way of that. But it's a tough balancing act when we learn that some of these largest companies are happily working hand in hand with the government and only going after one certain set of people. That becomes the problem. When it's not
definitely the problem.
When it's not blind. You know what I mean? When it's not like a blind kind of thing and they're like going after certain sects of people. This other story, Katie brought this to my attention the other day, and I heard a little blip about this and didn't really dig deeper into it, but I did find a story on the New York Post, and we can kind of just drill down in this just a second here. A huge scandal has come out exposing Brett Favre and some text messages he had sent with the governor, I think, was it Mississippi, the governor of Mississippi, implicating Favre deeper into a $5 million welfare scam. Ooh, that's maybe not good for the legacy, huh?
His legacy, and I can't exactly remember what it was, but he had an issue a few years ago that questioned his integrity, I think, or honesty. And this is another bark on that. I hate to see that. I mean, Brett Favre is, if you're a football fan, is an absolute hero. I will never forget watching the Monday night game he played after his father died that weekend. And that Monday night, he put on a clinic. I think he threw like 5 touchdown passes. It was just an incredible performance. And I used to think he was kind of overrated. I'm like, come on, Brett Favre. But after seeing him in his career over the years, he was worth those 3 MVPs. He deserved them. He was one heck of a quarterback, and I hate to see this tarnish his legacy.
So here's a little bit of it in a nutshell. So Brett Favre wanted to have a new volleyball stadium built, and it so happened that his daughter played volleyball at Southern Miss at the time these text messages were sent. According to a report by Mississippi Today, text messages entered into the state's ongoing civil lawsuit over the welfare scandal revealed that Governor Phil Bryant pushed to make that new volleyball stadium a reality. The text showed that Governor Bryant pushed for the complex to be built at the University of Southern Mississippi, Favre's alma mater, using money that was supposed to go to the state's welfare agency. Ooh, it all doesn't smell very good.
No, this is not good. And you're talking a considerable sum of money here, and these are the types of money you do a little jail time. You don't get a slap on the wrist when you're talking about this type of money. So Hall of Famer, superstar quarterback Brett Favre could be looking at a little little jail time in the coming
I sure hope not.
It makes it's so sad to hear stories like this too, because what is he? He's a millionaire.
Multi-millionaire.
Multi-millionaire. So he has the money to put forth if he wanted to help build this stadium from philanthropy. If he wanted to put that money that he has towards the stadium, he could have done it from his own pocketbook. And that's why it struck me so hard. And I talked to both of you about this on the break. It's just like such a horrible thing to see someone that has a multi-millionaire who has the funds and the means necessary to do with it what he wishes, and instead grabs it from a welfare program that he's supposed to be supporting. What does that say about society?
What I'm suspecting, Katie, is, a lot of times these football players don't always take care of their money.
Yeah.
When they're playing. Now, Brett Favre, I think he probably did, but you hear oftentimes these stories where these guys have a bunch of money, they've saved up or whatever, and they get involved in some investment and they put a bunch of money in it and may end up losing their shirts. For Brett Favre to put his reputation on the line like this, I wouldn't be surprised if we learned he's having some financial issues.
So you know what's interesting? There was a story done yesterday on that very subject of how much Brett Favre is worth. The estimates are that he's worth in the region of $130 million.
Wow. Okay, never mind.
So
he good. He wiping his butt with 20.
Yeah, he good.
And I had no idea, but doesn't that just even further ask the point?
Yeah.
Why in the world would you do? Why wouldn't you, like Katie said, why wouldn't he say, hey, I'm going to do a fundraiser for this volleyball thing and let's raise $2.5 million and I'll put up the other $2.5 million, something like that. Wouldn't that have been a lot easier than doing all these machinations behind the scene to try to get money shifted from the state's welfare agencies?
It's gross.
I think there is a song that I think explains this perfectly, and it is the theme of Donald Trump's The Apprentice.
Oh,
money, 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 money.
That's a good theme. That is a good
That's what I
theme.
think what it's all about, greed and money.
When you look back on text messages, too, of him being like, I hope I don't get caught. I hope it doesn't circle back around to me. It's
Even though it's in text messages that are around forever.
Yeah. Like,
It's
what
like,
are
dude,
you doing?
What are you doing putting that in writing?
Come on.
Wow. Man, Chris, speaking of football, how does it strike you that I just learned this morning?
Yeah.
I had no idea this was happening. Thursday night football this year, you can only watch on Amazon Prime. Now, I think most of the world has Amazon Prime, but for those people who don't have it, I mean, I don't know. Is that a good play for them? What do you think about that?
I don't think it's a good play. And we talked about this earlier during the baseball season when we went to YouTube, and it was like, I watched one game this year, the Cardinals. I couldn't find the games. And it's turning into that same thing with the NFL now. Is where the hell can I watch the game? It's going to be a matter of time before the Super Bowl's pay-per-view. You know that.
Man.
It's just a matter of time.
Everybody's looking to make a buck. I just think it's so weird. And, look, a lot of people have Amazon Prime, but a lot of people don't. Yeah. And again, with the whole thing with St. Louis, where you can't watch Blues hockey or St. Louis Cardinals baseball unless you only have DirecTV or cable TV. So anybody who's got Hulu or YouTube or Sling or Fubo or whatever, I'm just making things up because I heard them once. Isn't there something called Pluto TV?
Yes.
Just making stuff up. None of those people, we can't watch Cardinals baseball or Blues hockey.
Can you watch Amazon Prime on your phone?
Yes.
Okay.
You can.
Because, people are watching stuff on their phone more than anything. So maybe that's what they're going with. Hey,
maybe
you want to watch football, you watch stuff on your phone anyway. So
But you gotta pay for Amazon Prime.
Right.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we solved all the world's problems in that hour. When we come back, we will speak with Ron from The Range, Customer Appreciation Days this Saturday, and Dakota Wood, veteran and senior research fellow for defense programs at the Heritage Foundation. Chris, Katie, Stella, and I back right after this here at 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
This is News Talk STL at 1019 94.1 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
Columbo here for Agers Heating and Air Conditioning. Putting an Agers system in our new home was our number one priority because Agers' number one priority is doing right by the customer. St. Louis weather is unpredictable, but no matter what's happening outside, having a new HVAC system from Agers will ensure your family is safe and comfortable inside. Whether you need repairs or replacement, Agers has you covered with the clarity and attention to detail your home deserves. Contact Agers now at 636-242-6515 or through their website, callagers.com.
Michael's Flooring Outlet is a locally owned and operated family business for more than 28 years, featuring exclusive products, unbeatable prices, and expert installation. You can choose from a wide variety of flooring options, including carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, plus many other options. And you'll gain a peace of mind knowing that your flooring and carpet installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's. You can shop in-store at one of their 3 convenient locations or shop from home online. Check out everything Michael's Flooring has to offer at igotfloored.com.
The Labor Day event from Dell Technologies is here. End the summer strong by starting up a new season of productivity. Your business upgrade begins with up to 48% off top-rated laptops, like Vostro, taking performance to the next level with 12th Gen Intel Core processors. It's time to push your growing business even further. What's next for you? Upgrade today by calling 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
When a nasty cold keeps you up all night, Vicks NyQuil Severe gives you powerful relief from your worst cold and flu symptoms, which changes a night that sounds like this into a night that sounds more like this. Ah, that's better. NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, sore throat, stuffy head, aching, fever, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
From townhall.com, I'm Keith Peters reporting. A tentative labor agreement has been reached between railway workers and railway companies, averting a Friday strike. Correspondent Donna Warder reports.
President Joe Biden says the tentative deal will keep our critical rail system working and avoid disruption of our economy. The president says rail workers will get better pay, improved working conditions, and peace of mind around their health care costs. A strike could have halted shipments of food and fuel at a cost of $2 billion a day and shut down some commuter rail lines throughout the country.